So we're right here at CES, right in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau Hotel. Next to me is Mr. Tim Wong from NVIDIA. Hello, Tim.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. This is an exciting show.
Yeah, I think so too. So you're actually dealing with the automotive part of NVIDIA, and you actually had a remarkable keynote on Monday where the new Blackwell chip was actually showcased and all that. And can you briefly outline what this new Blackwell chip can do in the automotive sector?
Sure. For us, we have Blackwell in Thor, and Thor is our SoC for autonomous driving. And as well as Blackwell's also in the data center, right? We have the data center for training. We also use data center computers for our Omniverse and Cosmos for digital twin development and synthetic data generation. And the three computers are used basically to develop autonomous cars, because you need to train develop your AI algorithms and train them. Then you need to test them, because when you do on-road testing, most of the time nothing happens, right? You drive around, but knowing what happens when a 9-year-old girl dressed in dark clothes, unlit street, heavy rain, runs across the road. I don't want to stage that because that's kind of dangerous, but I need to know what happens. But then using Cosmos to permute those and make those scenes in heavy snow, in fog, with the sun in your eyes, with someone with high beams blinding you, having all those different things happen, I need to know what happens to those things. So what we really showed at Joseph's keynote was how to amplify and just scale your data. Yeah. Because for autonomous driving, as you can imagine, it needs to be safe. And the way you can make sure it's safe is by testing it in every possible scenario.
Okay, and I mean, it's kind of an AI, right? That is actually thinking about these scenarios, but how does it actually know how is it going to work?
And that thinking is, I guess, a really huge way to simplify it, right? So there's a perception piece, where I can detect other cars, I can detect lanes, I can detect pedestrians, animals, I'm detecting the world around me. I then need to kind of understand that world, understand where everyone's about to be. Is a pedestrian about to run in front of my car? And I can tell by the way they pose and things that they're about to do something. Or is a scooter just going to ignore, that I'm there and just try to get in front of me? So that's where, basically you have a planner that's trying to decide, okay, based on where I think everyone's about to be and where I need to go, what is the safest path? And so that feeds into actuation control with, basically your throttle, your brake, and your steering. How do I manipulate that so I can basically get you to your destination, but keep the occupants and the surrounding environment safe? And so you're doing that many, many times a second. And that's basically how this car thinks.
And we're sitting in front of a Volvo here. So is this Volvo equipped with the Thor chip already?
It is not with Thor. They're going to upgrade to Thor. They actually committed to migrate, but this has Orin in it, which is our current generation SoC, and it's running everything in the car. So when you decide to do cruise control with adaptive cruise control with steering, it basically will manage the car and drive it beautifully.
So I can just sit down, relax, and play my new...
You still got to pay attention, though.
So I can play my new video game with the new NVIDIA 5070 card? No.
Not in the car. You can be, if you're in the back, yes. But because it's essentially a level 2 plus or basically assistance, you still have to pay attention. They are talking about doing level 3 at some point, and so when that happens, that is eyes off autonomy. And in certain conditions, you will be able to not have to pay attention.
Can you briefly outline how the future is going to look like in automotive with this Thor chip?
A couple of things. I think the power of Thor is much more powerful than our previous generations, so you can do more. Whether it's features, whether it's safety, it's a better world. But what I look forward to is today, I think in the US, I'm not sure about Germany, 60% of all accidents are caused by distracted driving, which means that humans are terrible at paying attention. That needs to change. And one of the ways that can change is if there's more autonomy, because the computer is paying attention in all directions all the time. It doesn't get distracted. So I would love to not have those things happen, right? You think of the property damage, the human damage, human suffering from these accidents. Let's get that off the table, right? I live about 95 kilometers from home to work, a long commute, and in heavy traffic. I always joke that I can teach a 10-year-old how to drive in traffic. Follow the car in front, stay in your lane, and just sit there forever, right? Let's have the car do it. Let me prep for a meeting or be on a call but I shouldn't have to pay attention in something as simple as highway bumper to bumper traffic. Or you look at people who have mobility issues. Whether it's my mom when she was alive, she was 81 and she would only drive on a sunny day on a route she knew. But if it was rainy, the nighttime, she couldn't drive. And so when she had to pick up a prescription late at night, she would have to call us or she wouldn't get it. But now if there were more AVs around, maybe that would help her, right?
If an accident is inevitable, how does the AI decide what to do?
I always tell people, what would you do? Like if you're driving, you have a split second to make an arbitrary decision and you have to live with that for the rest of your life. And you'll replay it in your head, you say, I should have done this, but it's a no-win, which means that no matter which scenario you pick, it's going to be a terrible outcome. The hope is the autonomous car paying attention in all directions all the time, approaching this no-win situation can avoid it because it'll see it early and be able to stop. Yeah. But if it can't, it's not going to do any worse than a human. It's going to arbitrarily pick. And whether it was right to pick the kids or right to pick the mom and dad, there's no right answer because it's a no-win. What to me gets really interesting is when you have a spectrum problem. And let me explain what I mean. So that's a Boolean problem, right? There's two outcomes and you got to pick one. A spectrum problem says, I have a boulder, it falls in front of the car, one car length of the car, and you're going, say 9 kilometers per hour. Physics says you're going to hit it, right? There's no choice. You cannot avoid it. But imagine this is an autonomous car that can basically independently control all 4 wheels, steering, brake, and throttle. So I could pivot the car and say I have mom, dad, grandma, and baby, and I can choose the impact point. Now, the question is, who gets to choose the impact point? If you could say, okay, it should be the kid because their bones aren't fully formed and they'll get hurt, but they, will survive. Or is it grandma because she's 82 years old and she'll probably die, but she had a full life, or the dad has the best medical plan, do you let, but there's again, it's a spectrum problem because there's no one answer, or do you hit it in such a way that everyone gets hurt a little bit, right? Who gets to make that decision? How does the decision get made, right? That's a much more complex issue. Now, the good news is that car companies and insurance companies and governments are talking about these things.
Yeah, and we're talking about lidars and radars and cameras and all that stuff. But what about the cars being interconnected with each other so that every car knows where the other car is actually going?
It's not just vehicle to vehicle. Vehicle to infrastructure is also interesting too, because a lot of traffic lights have cameras, and if you feed all the traffic light data as well as the vehicle to vehicle data, I call it a look around the corner sensor. Because if I have a lot of buildings, right, or even a bus at a stoplight, and so I can't see that someone's about to step out from in front of the bus, but the car coming this way can see them, and the traffic light can see them, and that gets that object data, because you don't actually feed the sensor data to the car, because all cars have different types of sensors, so they won't know what to do with someone else's feed. But the object map that says there's an object here, it's going this speed, it's at this position, that you can send very quickly. Sharing all that object data is awesome, because now I can see around corners, I can see around blind spots. I essentially don't have any blind spots. So when that world happens, it'll be awesome.
And is this going to be possible with your chip, with the NVIDIA Thor chip?
Absolutely. So we are all about high amount of computing. So Jensen said in this keynote, you're putting a supercomputer in the car. You are. You need to be able to not only process all the sensor data, you have to understand the sensor data. And then you need to react and appropriately manage the car to that sensor data. The funny example, because my daughter just moved from California to Indiana, and I got a call saying, I can't drive. I go, what do you mean you can't drive? She goes, anything I do, it spins, like the car spins. And I go, yeah, you're used to California. If it's icy, you have to start really slow, you have to stop really slow, and you turn really slow. I said, everything is in slow motion. basically that's the beauty of NVIDIA is that you have so much compute to use, we can basically understand that the road conditions are icy, so therefore your inputs are totally different than if they were dry,
Yeah.
right? And you have to adapt to that. So that's what I love about NVIDIA is that we have this 3-computer system where you're going to have this big computer to train the networks, develop your AI algorithms, figure things out. Then you're going to simulate because you have to do so much testing because on the road you just don't see enough. You just have to be prepared for almost anything. And then the car compute, being able to understand, take all that sensor data, understand it, provide relevance to it, and then change your actuation based on what the road conditions are. Yeah, that's what we're all about.
So thinking forward about 5 to 10 years from now, how would the world look like with autonomous driving?
So hopefully, and it's hard for me to say this because I like to drive cars. So, but I'm hoping in 5 years, there are human drivers on the road because at that point, if there are a lot of autonomous cars on the road, the human drivers are the risk, right? They're the ones who are causing the bombs. Because the nice thing about autonomous vehicles is they sort each other out, right? If you think about speed limits, traffic lights, traffic signals, stop signs, that's all for humans. If autonomous cars approach an intersection, they can just time it so they all pass each other, and they don't actually have to stop. Think about speed limits, right? Speed limits are based on human reaction time. Well, a supercomputer's reaction time is a whole lot better than human. So if you can commute to work at 300 kilometers per hour, now you can live farther away from work because I'm going to let the car drive that fast, right? So it becomes a much more interesting world because now you're geographically more flexible because you can do these high-speed commutes. I have so much more time to myself because I don't have to be driving, and people aren't getting hurt. It's safer. I think it's a great future.
Thank you, Tim. It was a pretty inspiring interview, and I learned a lot. And I thank you very much for your time.
Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.